Hi, this is Steven from BGCast.
And this is Diana from Transcending Ascension.
And this is Esoteric Caravan. Well, how's it going, everybody? We really hope that you enjoyed episode 3, The Variance of Human Origin. Today we are bringing it back for kind of a special episode, StarSeeds and Substances. Yes, I'm sure a lot of you out there who are listening to this in our community, if you identify as a starseed or even anybody in the spiritual community in general, I know a lot of us have had problems and issues with substances in our life. So today we are here to kind of discuss that. What could be the reason behind this? What are we looking for? What are we seeking in these substances? So one of the things I want to start off with, and then I'll hand it off to Diana, is I think one of the reasons we seek substance a lot is we are trying to fill a non-existent hole within us. A lot of us who start using substances to begin with, we're trying to find that peace, that comfort, that love that we're searching through external sources for. And then as we awaken and as we evolve consciously, we come to understand that this love is already within us. It's already there. And this is why a lot of us begin to recover from these substances. Another reason why I think we chase substances too is because we came from the higher realms, guys. We came from higher dimensions. We decided to come down here and incarnate here to assist with what's going on as far as the conscious evolution of the human collective. And we seek these substances because a lot of them can bring us to these higher states that are natural to us. But Diana, I am curious, what are your thoughts on this?
So it's vast and many because it depends on the substance. Now, for starters, starseed usually is autism as well. So the spectrum in general, ADHD. I'm sure all of you can relate to some sort of ADHD-like situation in your life because a starseed and ADHD, the autism spectrum, empath, it's all the same system. It's people that are born with more magic in their bones. So shamans. At the root of this, we have shamans. We are shamans. And so what do shamans usually do? So shamans usually are quite involved with substances. Shamans usually are the ones making the substances. So when we talk about altering our perceptions of reality through substances, you can absolutely fine-tune your existence chemically. You just want to do it with awareness and with discernment. So we've talked before about the things you can take to raise your dopamine, because you definitely do need to raise your dopamine. We have a serious dopamine issue, not to mention the GABA system, which Stephen can tell you about better, but we definitely want to be stimulating that system with L-theanine, ashwagandha, and lots of other substances. There's 5-HP, something that'll do it. And there's all these different ways we can raise those systems inside ourselves. And there's things we want to talk about today, like drinking, good or bad, depends on the circumstances. Cannabis, good or bad, depends how you're using it, right? But then there's other substances, crack, meth, nothing but bad probably. And then heroin. Heroin's been known to be done by artists. However, heroin's kind of a drug where if you do it, you might be surrendering your life for the rest of your life. But some people get out of it permanently. Some people never do. Some people never stop wanting it. So there's all these different drugs that we have to look at with discernment, with understanding. Why do we want this drug? Why do we think we need it? What are we really seeking? Because Stephen mentioned we're trying to fix a non-existent hole within us. Now, if you look at it from the God perspective, of course it's a non-existent hole, because from God's perspective, everything is perfect. But from your individuated perspective of your now moment, so for me, Diana, for Stephen, your now moment in your name, that is where you're going to be. So when you say non-existent hole, you'll be like, no, fuck that. I definitely have a hole. Like this and this has happened to me, and this has never worked right in my brain. Like some of us have never had our brains work the same as everybody else's from the get-go. And more evidence is coming out that that's meant to be, that these people like us have always been here, but society was more in tuned. We had more places to be where we fit and we worked and we were needed, right? But in this computer age where the computers get to be the smart ones, well, what do? Because we were the smart ones. We were the geniuses. We were the scientists. We were the inventors. We were the ones that made everything new again. And we still can be, and we still will be, But there's a lot to look at when we look at us and the lives that we come from, because it's one thing we can all notice is that starseeds usually come from some sort of trauma or end up having some sort of trauma. I mean, cancel and nullify that, but there's a reason for that. The shaman needs to be able to see the deepest depths of darkness to do their job properly in this dualistic world where your right and your left hemisphere are severed, and you're not operating as one person. You are operating as two different people that basically communicate. The part in your brain that talks is not the same part of your brain that gives you images of thoughts. That matters. So we're retooling how we deal with ourselves, how we live our life, what's good, what's bad, dropping shame, and actually creating a system for ourselves that we can be proud of to live within.
Absolutely. And I think one of the biggest things why we as starseeds, we experience this relationship that we do. I agree with you on the shamanism part for sure. A lot of us are natural born shamans, and of course we're going to go through the different substances that are helpful when used in the right context as opposed to harmful. But of course there are some that are just straight up harmful, and I kind of categorize it like this. I know we spoke about it in a episode, one of our first episodes, but there are substances that expand your consciousness and there are substances that diminish your consciousness. So what would make a substance expand your consciousness and make it a good tool to use in your spiritual evolution when used in a ceremonial and in a proper way? Well, ultimately, things that expand your mind, your awareness, things that make you think in new, different ways that are outside of the box. I remember one of the first times I did cannabis. Diana's funny. She says I deserve spankings for a lot of things that I've done in my life. But, I first smoked cannabis and got high from cannabis when I was 13 years old. I'm sure a lot of you might have a similar story out there. But I remember it was a magnificent experience. It was wonderful. It made me look at the world in a whole different way, a whole different light outside of myself. And I remember really mumbling these words as I'm sitting there laying in a swimming pool, floating, looking up at the sky going, why is this illegal? Why is this illegal? This should not be illegal. This is wonderful. This is fantastic. But it made me look at the world differently in a whole new light and expansive way. It made me look outside of myself. It made me look at a bigger picture at hand. Existence. What is this existence? It made me start to question it. So right then and there, you can kind of take a look at it and go, this is an expansive substance. This is one that is expanding your mind. Same thing with psychedelics. They end up doing that to us as well. And of course, with psychedelics, they make us, the technical term for a psychedelic is called an entheogen. And what entheogen stands for is generating the God within. Okay, so right there in the word itself, it talks about what these compounds do, these wonderful plant medicines, and they generate the God, they connect to the God part within us and activate that at a deeper level. So yes, these are going to expand you. So what would be a non-expansive substance? What would be something that diminishes our consciousness and really bolsters and amplifies the ego? Alcohol being one. So Diana was talking about the GABA system earlier. So for those of you who don't know what GABA is gamma aminobutyric acid. So it is our relaxation neurotransmitter. It takes part in, relaxation. It takes part in inhibition. So it's kind of it's focus. So it actually is one that kind of lowers our inhibitions a little bit, allows us to open up more. So
usually in a good way though, like to not be as neurotic. It's not like a woo, take off your clothes one.
Yeah, not a woo. Although we'll get to that. We were actually talking about too how when we're younger and we first try alcohol, because that's the thing. A lot of people who, when we try alcohol our first time, very few of us are actually of the quote-unquote lawful legal drinking age when we try alcohol. And I mean, it's kind of weird in this society, that's just kind of what happens, especially in American and in
especially in America having a 21. Come on, they're like forcing you to be criminals. At least in Canada at 19, that's more reasonable. And I really actually didn't get into drinking too much until I was 18, 19, because you shouldn't really start until you're done high school. I still stand with that, nerd or not.
But nonetheless, too, like GABA, you know, when you first had that drink of alcohol...
But you should stop by your 25, not to say I'm giving the license to drinking, but Steven's about to say why it's okay to drink in that younger years.
Well, so when you're drinking in these younger years, our body and our brains aren't quite developed yet. So we respond to the excess of GABA in our brains from alcohol, because that's what alcohol does, is it increases the amount of GABA in our brains. It does work on the GABA system in our body as far as neurotransmitters goes, although alcohol is technically what's known as a dirty drug. It works on many different systems, but GABA is the primary one. And we respond to it differently when we're younger because our brains are not 100% developed yet. So when we are younger, if you've noticed, that alcohol is more stimulating. Yes, you know, when you would drink alcohol back when you were a kid, you would feel on top of the world.
And kid, we mean like 18 to 25, or I would even say 21 to 25.
Yeah, you know, you feel
not promoting young drinking.
Yeah, of course not, not yet. But like, but you know, you feel like you're on top of the world. You feel invincible. You feel like Superman. Like the alcohol freaking makes you more talkative. It makes you
confident,
more confident, more social. Things like that. But then as your brain starts to develop and mature, what happens is GABA we no longer respond to GABA that way. GABA becomes really, in excess, a very straight up relaxant. It makes us tired.
Depressed.
It makes us depressed.
And it becomes a depressant.
It makes us
after
lazy.
25. You start to feel like a loser for drinking after 25.
Absolutely. And I even noticed the shift in myself. You know, when I was younger, I remember when I had my first drink and I really got drunk the first time. Do not judge me, everybody. Of course, Diana, like I said, she's joking. She says I deserve spankings for many things I did in my life. But I was 14 the first time I got drunk, and yes, I felt on top of the world.
So was I, to be fair.
So
it was a funny or less shady story.
Well, I ended up stealing the bottle of Bailey's Irish Cream out of the back of the liquor cabinet that had gone unnoticed for a while. Not to mention my first time getting really, really drunk, but the first time also having a really, really bad hangover at the same time. That was a twofer. But nonetheless, I digress. You know, so that's why, you know, as you get older, alcohol starts to be a depressant. So in the beginning, it can be in some ways somewhat beneficial, you know, because it breaks down the walls that we have around us that keep us locked into a confined system of thought.
It can break us out of our parental paradigms.
And it can break us out of our parental paradigms, indeed. So it does have some kind of benefit at first, especially when we're talking about alchemy and alchemy of consciousness. It can have benefit.
You're trying to birth yourself as an individual in those early 20 years. You're trying to discover who you are. And alcohol can help you do that faster. It can help you run through things either experimentally or simply through your mind. It can help you try out friend groups. It can help you try out experiences. Whatever you need. Especially someone like me. Like, I wasn't a bad kid. I was a nerd. I was, and rightfully so. Like, I still am a bit. But so alcohol helped me loosen that and experience things I wouldn't have otherwise experienced in a way, because I was a goody two-shoes. And then so it broke me out of goody two-shoesness more or less to a large degree that would not have happened otherwise.
Exactly. So ultimately, yes, like, you know, you get that benefit from it when you're younger, but then as you get older, you start, and that's one of the things I noticed, and the reasons why I decided to put down alcohol too, is all it did was make me tired and lazy and depressed.
And sick.
It's
a poison. Especially as you get older. That's another thing. When you're younger, you wake up the next day, you feel great. When you're older, you wake up the next day and you're like, what the absolute F?
Well, I always had the running joke that when you get older, hangovers become hang-ons, meaning they hang on for like freaking 2-3 days.
And the old adage where you're borrowing happiness from tomorrow for today, except if you're doing that every day, which ends up becoming the habit, because when you're younger, you drink at parties, you drink here and there, go to clubs, right, like that, and it's more of a functional sense, versus when you're older, you're just drinking wine or beer every single night, and then worse than that, like whiskey, who knows what you're drinking, right? If you're drinking every single night, you're borrowing years and years and years off your life.
Absolutely. So ultimately, we'll digress and we'll say that's where, you know, alcohol in the beginning, it can be expansive. It can make you look at the world differently. It can break you out of your shell if it's utilized in the right way. But then as time goes on, because of the way...
It becomes your prison guard.
It becomes your
prison
guard.
Release becomes your prison guard.
That is absolutely, yes, it's the ultimate thing. It's funny that you say that, because that's absolutely true. Because alcohol is ultimately, as we get older, is what keeps us imprisoned in the matrix train of thought, in the matrix system.
But when you're younger, it's what frees you, because teenagers don't realize they actually have the strongest aggregate of everyone. That's why marketing companies target them. Teenagers think they're so anarchist and free, all of them. I love the My Chemical Romance song, Teenagers Scare the Living Shit Out of Me, because it's true, and they're all these little effed up creatures that think they're inventing the new, but they actually are in the strongest egregore, because they're all dog eat dog on what's cool and what's not cool, and so worried that they are not cool that they are going to create themselves a false paradigm. I did that. That's when I became an atheist, because it suited a paradigm I was creating for myself, which did kind of create a sort of success for myself, but it was not real. It was false, because in high school, all you care about is dominance in the fitting in, whatever your crowd is at the time. We all still care about being the most dominant figure in that crowd, which I definitely did succeed. But at the end of the day, all I did was create myself a false persona that I was later able to get rid of with drugs and alcohol. Full.
Absolutely. So we'll move on. So one of the other substances that a lot of us StarSeeds encounter in our interesting times walking upon this human experience are things like cocaine. So cocaine...
It's a huge problem in Canada. I heard it's just one of your drugs in America, but in Canada, it goes part and parcel with drinking.
Absolutely. It's like that in America too, for sure. I mean, cocaine is like, mostly, I was actually shocked in how when I turned 30, how when you get into your 30s, you realize how many people actually do cocaine.
Yeah, it's like a solid habit for so many people I know.
It was just like a freaking...
It was just a thing around at parties when we were younger.
It's funny. I'll talk about the story I was telling. I'll kind of abbreviate on this story a little. I told it to Diana one time. So I was actually, when I was still living in Denver, I worked with this guy. He was a Grateful Dead head. And of course, a lot of you in the Dead fam, if you guys are a part of the Grateful Dead fam listening to this, I know you guys love your cocaine. And I definitely experienced that to the fullest throttle. So in Denver, there used to be a bar called the Psychedelic Key. It got shut down due to this, probably. And I was working with a deadhead, and he was like, hey, man, you really need to come get a drink with me. This is before I put alcohol down in my life. You need to come get a drink with me at this bar. It's called the Psychedelic Key. It's a dead bar. I was like, yeah, let's go. So we go after work. This place didn't open until 4 o'clock. I end up going, and the first thing I noticed when I walked in, I go up and I get a beer, and I'm like, let me start a tab, and the guy looks at me, oh, you don't need a tab, you're with him. So I was like, oh my goodness. So I end up getting taken through this hallway out to this back patio where this guy's cooking chili, and on every single table in this bar is a pile of cocaine, and the guy who is cooking the chili is selling the cocaine out of his fanny pack. And I was sitting here looking, and we are like in the open. Yes, we're in a fenced-in area, but we're in this back alley of Denver, Colorado, and this fenced-in, everybody's doing cocaine. It was just a shock to me about how, open the cocaine use was. Of course, it was in the dead community. It's a little bit different, but nonetheless, cocaine, I'm going to say, guys, is a consciousness diminisher. It is, because what it does is it really bolsters and props up the darker aspects of the ego. It is making you cocky. It is making you self-absorbed. It is making you almost really ground yourself here in the physical, because you start to really crave and care about the physical carnal desires when you are on cocaine. Those start to become a premise in your consciousness. You start thinking about sex. You start thinking about women. You start thinking about more drugs. You start thinking about money. You start really thinking about all of these real...
World domination, in my case. That's where I go.
Diana's a special one, but like freaking, she thought about world domination on cocaine. So cocaine, I'm going to go ahead and say, in a very similar... Now, the interesting thing about meth, too, meth is... I'm going to say amphetamines can be either or. They can be either or, because I actually know some really, well, I would say in my eyes, or at least world-class researchers who did some very good things that used amphetamines
Johnny Cash, woo!
To expand their mind. Like, of course, I'm not going to name names, but the producer of my network actually wrote his very first successful book on amphetamines, and very smart guy. It expanded his consciousness. It took his research to the next level. So one of the things I'm going to say, I'm not saying...
Well, any of us that haven't done amphetamines specifically, but have done caffeine, I was very addicted to caffeine gum, caffeine shots, caffeine drinks. And I don't know if they're the same, Stephen, you've done both. Are they similar?
So the difference between caffeine, so this is where like I'm going to come in and say, well, caffeine can give you somewhat of a similar effect. Amphetamines are a whole different level. If you have no caffeine tolerance and you drink caffeine, you will get an amphetamine-like effect from it. But if you are somebody who utilizes caffeine every day, you're not going to get that. Caffeine does not work on the dopamine system.
But it depends, because energy drinks are different than coffee themselves. Energy drinks come with an extra oomph.
They do, and they also have other things in there that can trigger a bigger dopamine.
Like right now, we're drinking American energy drinks.
Called Bucked Up.
We found them in an unnamed location we won't say because we don't want them to get in trouble. But we're very grateful, although I'm worried, because we have very safer regulations in Canada. That does have definitely extra things. And Stephen talks about how you Americans actually straight up had amphetamines in your drinks once upon a time.
Pre-workouts and things like that. Yeah, that's definitely we did. We had amphetamine analogs, 1,3-dimethylamine and things like that, and freaking in our pre-workouts. But nonetheless, amphetamines work on the dopamine system entirely differently. So what caffeine does, caffeine actually blocks adenosine. Adenosine is the compound in our body that makes us feel tired. So caffeine blocks adenosine receptor sites, thus leading to a feeling of alertness. And in turn, you can get a dopamine response from that because you're awake, you feel alert, you feel better, you don't feel tired anymore. So that's a feel-good thing. You're glad you don't feel tired. So you will get a dopamine response from that. But however, it does not work strictly on the dopamine systems like amphetamines do. So that's the biggest difference there. But again, like I'll say, I digress. Amphetamines can be either or. I'm not saying go out and do speed, guys. Okay, I'm not saying go out and do speed. But it depends on how the amphetamines are utilized. And I know a lot of really good researchers in our community. Another woman that I know, I'm not going to name names, who had done a lot of her research on MK Ultra and the CIA on amphetamines too, and a really great person. She doesn't do them anymore. Same thing with the guy of my network. He doesn't do them anymore.
Johnny Cash did them. That's how he did all of his stuff, was on amphetamines. And even Elvis Presley, all those people back then were all using them. The doctors used to prescribe them to them.
Exactly. So, so amphetamines can be either or. It depends on how they're being used. If they're being used to expand yourself and your knowledge at a quicker rate, then they can be expansive. However, that has downsides to your health. I mean, you're not going to sleep, you're not going to eat. Of course, they do make the downstairs region not work for men, so that's also something to consider there. But so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say either or. But then also let's get to the next one, opiates. Now I have a very special history with these compounds. And they can, and the weird thing about it is they can at first be somewhat expansive, but they are at least in my eyes, and of course I'm biased to this because of my experience, they are the ultimate definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. They will make it seem expansive first, and they will make you feel good at first, but down the line they diminish you.
All drugs will do that eventually, though.
Yeah,
all of them, including cannabis, will even do that if you're abusing it.
If you're abusing it, yeah. But see, the opiates don't give you a choice but to abuse
exactly.
them. And that's where...
just stay out of that territory. If it's extremely addictive, don't do it.
Well, that's the one thing I will tell to you guys, honestly.
Because ADHD people are more prone to addiction because of our dopamine lack. Like, we have low dopamine receptors, and that makes us more prone to addiction. Because we simply want to fix what we feel off inside us.
Well, that's the thing too, is it's like, I will tell you this, guys, if there's any drug in this world I would tell you to not try, it is opiates. Opiates are, like I said, they're the definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing. Yes, when you first do them, Now, the natural opium poppy is a little bit different. However,
we talk about growing poppy flowers ourselves one day to have poppy tea. It is illegal,
but you could.
It's just a simple tea. Anything you can grow as a flower and drink, and it's not toxic to kill you. God would be okay with it.
Here's the thing I will say. Even though yes, you can still get addicted to poppies for sure. I'm not saying.
Yeah, but the process is so laborious.
It is.
Good luck doing it. That's the whole point. If you're growing it and doing it yourself, good luck being addicted. You're just going to be addicted to gardening as well.
Exactly. So,
but if you're buying it from someone else, it's way easier to let this stuff get away from you.
Absolutely. So, but opiates, they're the definition of a wolf in sheep's clothing, man. They will make you feel like you are wrapped up in the world's biggest, warm, comfy blanket at first. And then what'll happen is if you continue to use them in succession on a daily basis, you will need them to feel normal. And when you don't have them, you will be incredibly sick and uncomfortable. And this diminishes consciousness to such a degree. You will start stealing from the people you love. You will start robbing places. You will start hurting people just to get your fix and your addiction. So that is ultimately opiates. Like I said, guys, if there is any drug I would say you do not try, it would be opiates for sure. And that's just coming from somebody who loves all of you, okay, and wants to see you thrive in your life and wants to see
if it's prescribed by a doctor, it's obvious. I don't think there's a single thing prescribed by a doctor that we would recommend except antibiotics and you're dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's so many different things to consider when you're considering this, and that's the long-term implications on your life. So things like cannabis are the things you're going to want to look at for your long-term helper. As a shaman, they stayed in smoke. In smoke was one of their things. So in smoke, you can smoke actually a ton of things. Blue Lotus is actually fantastic. It's legal, and it makes you really, really calm. So if you want to do let's say you live in a state and it's not legal yet, because it's legal in Canada and in a lot of states, or I don't know, other countries, right? You want to get that Blue Lotus, it will do great. You could just smoke it. There's so many mulberry, you could smoke that. You could actually smoke raspberry leaf. There's so many different things that are available to help calm you down and connect you more to spirit. Simply grounding, if you laid naked on the ground, it is going to give you a drug-like effect. Lay naked in the ground facing the sun, you're going to get a drug-like effect. There's even the perineal sun gazing, if you know what I mean. And that's supposed to I've never done it, but that's supposed to give you tons and tons of energy. There's so many different natural ways to raise your dopamine that you don't have to touch a single substance in your life. But if you want to, because you were, abused and life sucks and this world sucks and we want out of the matrix and we want to escape it any way we can, when we take these substances, they're quite literally changing our brainwave state. When you change your brainwave state, you are changing the reality that you live within.
Absolutely.
You are changing your lived paradigm. When you change your hormones, which we talked about a lot. So when you're doing drugs, you're changing your hormones. You're changing the brain chemistry within you, which is all those neuroreceptors which send the signals up to your higher mind, which is how you live your life. So raising our frequency is still first and foremost, but you can simply smoke clears out your energy. So when you're smoking it into your lungs, no matter what the smoke is, it's going to clear out your energy. Even if it's the smoke off a fire, it's going to clear out your energy. Just like saging yourself on the outside, breathing that sage in. Sage also helps you feel like a high, like you feel dizzy, you feel released, you feel clean, because sometimes just feeling really, really, really clean can feel like some sort of a high, because you're washing off all that negative energy. Every time you shower or bath, you are washing off that negative energy. Organite, it's so crystals are great, but organite's usually, it's crystals plus more, and it's taking that power and it's aligning your energy, because we're always constantly seeking to find better alignment, especially as StarSeed empath types, because we live in such a discombobulated reality where normal things to the other people are so painful to us when it shouldn't be, and then we're looked at like we're freaks and life should be easy and you're just a slacker. But that's not the case, because your brain is dealing with things that other people's brains are not. They get to wake up and get ready for work and go to work and not have any other thoughts except maybe picking up their dry cleaning.
Yeah, you're not neurotypical.
Exactly.
You're not neurotypical like these people, and that's the one thing too. Don't think there's anything wrong with you for that. Also too, you can kind of lend credence to what Diana's saying. The reason why a lot of these substances work on us is because we have these natural neurotransmitters in our body that do this. I mean, let's take the anandamide system, which is your natural cannabinoid system, your anandamines, right? When you run or you work out, It is not your endorphins, your pain-relieving fucking neurotransmitters that are kicking in. It is actually your natural anandamides, your natural cannabinoids that are kicking in. That runner's high that people talk about, that's why a lot of long-distance runners, they will take edible cannabis before they do a marathon, because it kicks in that natural system sooner and it can help you zone out the burn at a higher degree than if you don't. And I, as somebody who is an avid fitness enthusiast, as you guys know, who loves to train, I have used cannabis to run before long distances and things like that, and it does help you zone out that burn a little bit better so you can push through. So these, your natural cannabinoids are released through physical activity and things like that. So there's a way you can get, I mean, your natural DMT too, your natural psychedelics, breath work, Kundalini yoga, things that help utilize the cerebral spinal fluid, because in our cerebral spinal fluid, we actually have a combination of your natural cannabinoids and your natural DMT. That's why for any of you guys who have taken psychedelics and smoked weed on top of psychedelics, you see that the cannabis increases the psychedelic experience. It makes it more potentiated. That's because in your body, these natural compounds are meant to work together in that way. That is why. So, there's ways for you to utilize your natural psychedelics, your natural cannabinoids, and even for your natural endorphins, your natural opiates. The best thing you can do for that is get yourself an acupressure mat. I will tell you this, if you are a recovering opioid addict, the best thing you can do for yourself is get yourself an acupressure mat. Hands down. I guarantee you, lay on it with shirtless, bare-backed, last for 5 minutes if you're having any kind of drug craving or if you're in any kind of pain. And I guarantee you, you will fall asleep on that mat. You will fall asleep on it because it does so good at releasing your natural painkillers. And especially for those of you who are recovering opioid addicts that have damaged your endogenous opioid system like I did. To the point where you have a hard time generating these neurotransmitters or having these neurotransmitters work in a proper way. This mat will train your body to have that system work in a proper way again, and plus you get the natural benefit of getting high off your own painkillers. So you can utilize these altered states through natural means. They don't always have to be through an exogenous chemical that you take or an exogenous medicine that you take. So I think let's steer the conversation this way, and because we're kind of talking about this in the beginning. Why do we as StarSeeds reach for these substances? What is one of the biggest things? Because you notice it's really a big trend in the StarSeed community. A lot of us have had issues with substances and currently use substances. And I'm kind of going to touch on the one thing in a little bit more detail that we were talking about in the beginning of the episode, that we are trying to fill a non-existent hole. And the reason why, I know Diana kind of touched on it a little bit, and I'll touch on it a little, and I'll have her give her 2 cents. Why am I saying this hole is non-existent? Well, the reason why I'm saying this is I'm not saying that your feelings are invalid, number one, okay? So let me just correct that. I'm not saying any of you guys' feelings are invalid when it comes to this. But the reason why I'm saying the hole is non-existent is because we were not aware of ourselves and our true nature at the time that we were experiencing this hole. We were shoved into the box of society, this societal Maya, this matrix. We were shoved into conformity, and of course, like I was saying earlier, a lot of us are not neurotypical here. You know what I mean? We are not, and we were shoved into this box, and we were yearning for something more. We were destined for something more, greater things, and because we were told that these greater things didn't exist, and you must keep your head down and fall in line, we started to feel as if this hole was developing in us. And then through this hole, we developed trauma. We started using substances. We started putting ourselves in bad scenarios because a lot of us are empaths. That is enlightenment, right? And we ended up, going down these dark roads, and we saw some of the deepest, darkest depths. And then we got pushed to the light. And then once we got pushed to the light, we found out that this whole, all of this love, this comfort, these greater things did exist all along. So it is almost like the whole was non-existent and we created it ourselves. But Diana, what do you think about that?
Absolutely. And one of the things that Sarah mentioned, in case you guys haven't watched that episode or you don't watch Sarah, Sarah said that empaths, so this is just adding to that tree of life of what we see off empath 3, including StarSeed, autism, ADHD. Well, she said empath is also souls that were previously already enlightened. Souls that were previously already enlightened. Think about that. So you were already enlightened in a previous life. You can check mark that. And I kind of take Sarah's word as law. Not that I worship anyone, but we do need a touchstone in this world, and Sarah's been nothing but proven correct. And like I said, we've talked to her personally, and she is what she says. So in that regard, when we consider empaths as previously enlightened, okay, so now we're in these bodies that are not enlightened. We are not enlightened right now. So we're like, what the F, right? The whole system's thrown off. Our minds are thrown off, and that's probably why our higher minds. So the higher mind that comes with us through life to life, because you have a higher mind, you have your lower mind that's just like Diana right now. Or you have your higher mind, which is the mind of your soul. Now, the highest part of your soul doesn't really have an individuated mind. It's going to be part of a monadic structure. But as you filter down through the layers, which we were going to, that was going to be the topic today, the layers of perception, you heard Alan Watts. Well, the layers of reality are quite literally the layers of your soul as you trickle on down through. And the more you start to come into this realm, which you must assume is not just this realm, there'd be layers above it that are part of this realm, that all our soul trickles through. So as you come down into this world, we are less and less enlightened as we touch down. So that brings with us this feeling. Think about it. If you knew what it felt like to fly, it's like what Steve talks about. If you know what it feels like to be on opiates, but then all of a sudden you're not on opiates, life feels shitty. So imagine how life felt for us before. We all know we're from a better place. We all are from a world, even if it's not the same world, we're all from worlds that hold a higher frequency, that felt better all of the time. Your body didn't hurt. Your head didn't hurt. It wasn't filled with awful thoughts. There wasn't so many demons in there telling you this, that, and the other, that they just increase as you get older. The negative voices get more solidification the more you think about them. Demons eat your loosh, but they also become part of your own created matrix of yourself, because each and every one of us have our own matrix around us. You are your own God. If you had your own mind power to fix everything, it would work. But you have to believe it. And you don't need to rely on everyone else. You have to believe it. But it's easier to get this shit done when everybody does it, because it makes it easier for us to believe. If everybody's doing it, we believe it more. I think that percentage of how many people need to do it and why it's always a different number, because it depends on you. What number do you really think is enough for the world to be saved? That's all that matters. Some of us, I'm not even saying me, some people have the strength to just see themselves. Jesus Christ had the strength to see just himself fixing the world, and he did, right? To a large degree, believe it or not. Even though they killed him and it didn't last, it looks like it didn't last, but it did. What Jesus did was, oh my God, fundamentally change timelines like you wouldn't believe.
This is a good time to say, screw you, Paul. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. You gotta love how churches will teach what Paul said over Jesus. So that just tells you something right there. Because in this world, we don't feel good. You can sum it back to that base level point. We don't feel good. We don't like to be here. We want to feel better when we're here. Like, even when I was a kid, like I said, I was a goody two-shoes, but I got into taking Advil all the time because I had what later came as fibromyalgia and was on its way to MS before I went gluten-free. But I still do have base level pain all the time, even with being gluten-free, because I think our bodies just, something inside us, might not be the bodies themselves, something within our entire network rejects being here. And that rejection of being here is why we crave substances to make it feel better. And we haven't mentioned sugar a lot because Stephen and I are off that train, but both of us have had trains of being on sugar. Mine after my second child, or during the making of my second child, got really into sugar and had to go through that, what people do, like, and get off it and lose the weight and stuff like that. Because sugar in itself is probably one of the worst effing drugs there is.
Oh, it has a similar response to it. So I don't know if you guys heard about the study where they had rats choose between the sugar water and the cocaine water, but the rats said, screw the cocaine water, we're freaking drinking the sugar water.
Tell them about the sharks and the cocaine.
Oh, and also too, it's been a proven fact in the States too that the sharks are getting into the cocaine bales that the that the cartels are dropping off on the coast. They did experiments on it, and I remember I saw the documentary about it. They put out like fake decoys. They put decoys of like food and prey animals out in the ocean, and then they put fake bales of cocaine out, and the sharks all chose the fake bales of cocaine. They wanted one of the sharks tried grabbing one of the bales and taking off with it. It was actually downright hilarious, but yeah, no, that definitely is a thing. So, but no, sugar is, man, it has the same response as a lot of drugs.
Well, it hits the heroin receptor in your brain, which Steve would know the proper name for. But like when you take sugar, it's hitting that opioid receptor in your brain. So sugar is part of the opioid family, even if it's a distant cousin. I don't know how it works, but it does touch that
even
center in your brain.
It hits dopamine very heavily too.
Yep. Energy too. It'll give you energy. That's why I've noticed the difference
have norepinephrine
between energy
too,
drinks with sugar or not. And with sugar is way better. They test it like with Red Bull. The sugarless ones are basically useless compared to the sugar ones.
I don't know. The caffeine works for me. You just like the combined effect, but it's cute though. But
that was something I was going to add on because we're around heading home. If you're addicted to alcohol and you need to quit, because I had like a concern, I was like, how? But I didn't drink that much, but I was really into wine. If you don't have the shakes or anything, you're not an alcoholic. You are not an alcoholic, but you can get addicted to drinking even before you're an actual alcoholic. That where it's dangerous if you quit alcohol. If you're an actual alcoholic, you have to do it different. Where if you're just a patterned drinker, and you can drink every single night and still not be an official alcoholic. If you're not drinking hard spirits and all the time, you're probably not an official alcoholic, but you're going to feel like you're addicted. You need to switch with candy. That's what I did. I was into wine and I needed to switch, and I felt like I was addicted and I was in withdrawals, but I wasn't. I was in sugar withdrawals because wine is filled with sugar. So replace it with candy for the time being. Not forever, but just to help you get off it.
Exactly, guys, exactly. So, I mean, ultimately, one of the things as we're getting close to our destination, I want to at least sum this up is yes, a lot of us use substances and still use substances, all right? And a lot of us use them in a useful way. And some of us out there might still be struggling with some of the more...
Even if you're not on substances, you're still struggling. Like, I struggle every day. Life sucks here. But I'm continuously making it better, and my actual life appears better, and it's all getting better, but it still hurts to be here. And the ascension energies still make it worse. So even though I get better, the standards raise, and so you're always just running against this fire that's chasing us, ready to consume us completely, because we will not stand for a normal matrix life.
Exactly. So ultimately, guys, what I will say is have your own discernment. Be that spiritually sovereign.
Remember you're a shaman.
Remember the part that they play, and understand that they aren't the mainstay. They can be assistants, they can be helpers, but for it to be the main course of your life, then you have to kind of take a look at it from that objective point of view and understand if it's something that you absolutely need and if you can do without it. But nonetheless, guys, I hope this was informative for everybody. We will be talking about the layers next time. Maybe. We'll see. We'll discuss on that.
It would just be theorizing, because we have deep understandings from multiple platforms, but have we been there? Sometimes. But there's so many layers, they're infinite, so it's quite the discussion. If you have questions, by all means, comment on this video, and we will answer them in the next video, and that goes for any questions.
For sure, guys. But other than that, I want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Esoteric Caravan. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe to both my channel and Diana's Transcending Ascensions. And we will be back here soon with another really awesome conversation for you guys. You all have a wonderful day. Take care and much love.
We'll see you all next time.